it may look like chaos, but everything makes sense in my head about how this is organized. I thought also would be like so like spooky, like spooky treasures.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Veronica Mingle. I'm a senior at UW. I'm the art director for the Vault, but you know, we just made up all the titles, so.
Okay.
But I mostly work with the fashion show. I kind of help come up with the idea for the theme, and then I go and I collect a obscene amount of fabric at Dig and Save, and I kind of just keep it in the back over there and then give it to people when they need it, pretty much, and also like help teach people to sew.
So when you first start the designing process, what are typically the first steps that you take when it comes to like creative direction and like the ideation of what you're going for?
Yeah, I feel like honestly there's such a delicious like wealth of inspiration online, like especially Pinterest. I feel like that's one of my favorites. Like, okay, let's save 3,000 pins of inspiration. I feel like that's the easiest part, but like actually like making it, like bringing it to life. Usually first I start saving a bunch of stuff on Pinterest, and then I go to Dig and Save, and just because it's thrifting, you have no idea what you're gonna find. Whenever I go to Dig and Save, I just find beautiful stuff and it really inspires me. I'm like, okay, this would be gorgeous for this, and kind of just work from there. I like chaotically usually work on like 4 things at the same time, and then I keep switching between them. Like, I have ADHD, so like part of why I think that's why I'm like that, but it's also I just find it the most fun. Instead of trying to force myself to do things with a strict specific schedule, I just follow whatever is calling me, and if I do that, like I work more efficiently because I want to be doing it instead of trying to force myself to do it when I don't want to. And there's very little method to the madness. I kind of just start doing it. Like, honestly, I don't even really sketch. I just like start making it, and then problem solve as the problems arise, pretty much, yeah. This is my sewing machine. This is my grandma's sewing machine. I have a bunch of stickers on here. This is where I keep, like, this desk is an absolute game changer. Like, literally just the amount of random, like, that's just all ribbon, and like, that's more hot glue. But these are my safety goggles for when my needles break. Right here, this rolls out, and it's an ironing board that I DIY'd, and here I just have more just like embellishments and like random, that's all elastics. These are all of my partially finished projects. Sewing patterns that I printed out, and also some that I've made myself. My friend's birthday is tomorrow, and I gotta finish her this skirt.
Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sierra.
I'm curious when and why you started sewing in the first place.
I think I was around 12 or 13, and it was Halloween, and I wanted to have like a Victorian vampire dress. And I used to sell bows that I made on Etsy for a while. I don't know if I actually made much money with that, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna have an obscene amount of bows, a bunch of lace, it's gonna be really big and frilly. And my parents had like an old purple curtain, and that's kind of how I started. And YouTube is freaking awesome. Like, oh my god, that's taught me almost everything I know. And then I just ended up doing makeup and costume stuff for theater. I used to do a lot of like gore makeup and stuff too, like wounds and stuff. I don't do that as much anymore, but I think also just working in 3D, I really like. I don't know why, it just makes so much more sense to me than like drawing and like 2D stuff. It's like, let me make it physically in the world with my hands. It just does something for me. I don't know. At least 3 things go wrong every single time I make anything, like always. Like, I just have to accept, like, I feel like sewing has humbled me and like made me very comfortable with just like accepting mistakes, because there's always something a little bit wrong, but you know, like, it'll work out overall in the end. Like, specifically for the outfit you tried on, the Cinderella one, like, I'd never made a corset before, and the cups were like way too flat. Like, I cut them out to be like nice and round, but it's really hard taking a 2D thing and making it 3D, and it just did not look right. So I had to cut them out, and I like folded them, hemmed it, and then added some like pearls to cover up the mistakes, or like I tried to make just like a normal simple circle skirt, which is supposed to be one of the easiest, and I like folded it wrong, so it was like 2 instead of 1, so I had to like combine them, and then the waist was way too big and it was too long, so I like I did like a cinch tie waist, like sweatpants, and then I just like folded the bottom like a bubble skirt, because I keep seeing those online. I think they look really good, and I like the big thick volume. My background is kind of like theater, cosplay, costume design, so what I specifically like about the vault is that I get to make absolutely ridiculous outfits that no one would ever wear to any occasion besides a fashion show. So like I just have like an urge to be making those things. It's like, why would I spend like for Halloween, you know, it's like why would I do this, especially if I'm not like selling it. So I think kind of there's not necessarily like a goal to be like classic or trendy or anything, and I think honestly like there's certain like silhouettes that I gravitate towards. Like I generally really like, you know, like I feel like hourglass shapes are always really flattering, especially because I mostly make stuff for women. But like a cinch waist with a corset, like you could put just scraps of fabric and then you throw a corset on and it'll look really good. Like just to kind of throw it all together.
Yeah.
I really like shiny stuff. I think that is like so fun. Like I feel like especially when someone's like moving and walking on the runway, like just some shiny little sparkly things, just like it's so captivating, and I really enjoy like adding those kinds of elements. In terms of like modern trendy versus classical, I definitely gravitate towards shorter skirts for sure, which I feel like you would, you know, you would not be wearing a skirt that short and in Victorian wedding like that. Definitely no. Specifically working with like only secondhand materials and kind of like winging most of what I make, it's just like, okay, like how can we just like throw it together and make it look flattering and like generally cohesive.
You kind of touched on this before, but like when it comes to like more sustainable fashion design and like recycling old clothing pieces, or like when it comes to specifically like the looks for the vault for this fashion show where they're typically more unique and like kind of out there pieces where you can really experiment with any sort of fabric, how do you try and incorporate any sort of like sustainability into that?
Definitely. Well, I feel like part of it is like at the end of the day, like we only have so much money. Fabric is really expensive. I don't know if you guys ever been to Joann's. I'll spend like $100 on the materials, not including the sewing machine, to make a dress, which is just like we can't afford that. And like I feel like one of the things that I like about the vault is it's kind of like an entry level. Like you don't, like a lot of the other clubs, like they're textile majors, you know what I mean, and like they know how to sew and like it's their personal collection, whereas like we have like a general theme, and like if it excites you, like make something, you know, like, and also just like if you like to be at the very beginning and to try to teach yourself to sew and make something on top of being a student and like not having the sewing being a part of your like schooling, like it can be really daunting. But there's just like literally like almost infinite amounts of clothing already in the thrift store and in the trash. At the end of the day, like vintage fabrics are going to be higher quality. Now like almost everything's polyester, which is like oil and plastic, and you know like everyone's sort of full of microplastics. It's kind of horrifying to think about, but like a lot of the vintage bed sheets are like 100% organic cotton, or like I personally am like really into finding quilts because it's just so labor intensive. Like to make a quilt is going to take like 6 months of like working on it every single day, and there's these beautiful works of art that like someone's grandma made and like she passed away, or like they don't want it anymore, or it's small like a baby blanket, and so it ends up, and like that's going to end up in landfill at the end of the day unless you can do something and like make it into something new. And also like as a beginner sewer, if you're just working with like thrifted stuff, it's way less pressure. It's not like you spent $100 on this fabric and that if you mess up you're screwed. And one downside is that you can't get more. So like if you do mess up, you're gonna have to go and get a different bed sheet. But I don't know, it's also just like so much more affordable. Like it just makes the most sense. Like it just, yeah, I can't imagine doing any other way, honestly. Yeah, there's one of my dress forms. This is the main madness where I just keep all the extra fabrics for the vault. Here are some blanket quilts that I've made recently with matching pants. Here's some older stuff from my Daydreamer collection where you can see like, yeah, look, sheep. There's a bunch of sheep. This one's really fun too. I feel like it'd be great. I'm thinking about maybe being a teacher, so I'll wear the heck out of this if I end up being a teacher. One cool thing that I have in here is, so for the Metamorphosis show, I So this is fabric that I dyed with food scraps. And then this was like part of the top, and then there's like big sleeves. And then here's a headpiece with, these are real mushrooms. They're antler reishi mushrooms that I got from a local culinary mushroom grower in Madison. And then this is a thrifted corset that I also attached real mushrooms to.
I remember that one.
Yeah, super cool.
So, do you ever use like a pattern?
Yeah. I have a bunch of patterns over there, but I also make my own sometimes. Like if you have a piece of clothing that fits you really well, you can trace it and then just keep replicating it. And honestly, like if it's a different fabric, it's gonna look like a completely different piece of clothing. Like I made so many pants out of blankets and each one looks completely different just because it's a different blanket, but they're all exactly the same pattern. And so I just think that's really fun. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I use paper bags just because it's the cheapest to like trace stuff, but I finally got real pattern making paper that I have this giant roll right here. But that will hopefully help me start locking in on my math.
What was the brainstorming process like for coming up with the theme of the grims?
I was like, just as like a cosplay costume nerd, I was like, bro, fantasy. Like that's one of my favorite. Like of all the types of fashion that you don't normally wear in your day-to-day life, I was like, let's do fantasy. Like it's some fairies, some elves. And then I told Mel, I asked her what she thought about that, and she said like, oh my god, what if we do like Grimm's fairy tales, but like the OG actual stories? Because then it's like, oh, it's literary, and then there's like characters, and it's it's familiar too, which I think is really fun. Like,
how does the process of making these looks challenge you?
Mostly time management, honestly. I usually wake up, I do my flashcards, and then I sew until I have classes. I don't have classes most days until like 1 p.m. So that's kind of like what I do every single day. But I don't know, I just think I can do everything twice as fast as I actually can, and then I'm like at the moment I'm like, oh, I can't, like I just don't have the time to do everything I dream of. But you know, it is what it is. But and if there wasn't deadlines in the vault and school, I would be doing none of this. So you know, I'm grateful at the end of the day.
My last question is, who inspires you in the fashion industry or just in general?
There's a few people, specifically recently. So right now, so the last fashion show was like metamorphosis and like sustainability themed. So I like worked with a bunch of blankets. We've always done dig and dig just because it's like what is affordable, honestly. But I was like, okay, wait, like I actually really like these, and they're super cozy because I'm literally just wrapped in blankets, and also they're kind of like gender neutral, which I like, because like, okay, how do I make clothing that can fit a bunch of different body types, is comfortable, has pockets, and is gender neutral-ish? And it just feels like blankets and quilts are just the path. But some specific people that I've been really admiring, there's this woman called the Prairie Misfit, and she, at least for all, can you see this? Okay, let's see. I feel like you can't really see it. I could also like send some pictures. I also definitely love like grandma stuff. I feel like I'm very generally inspired by grandma-ly things. It's just really crazy to think about like how many hands everything you own and wear has passed through. The Daydreamer collection, where I was like working with like blankets, like I specifically picked blankets that had a lot of sheep because I thought it'd be like, oh, like counting sheep, daydreaming. But also like I like think a lot about like specifically when working with curtains and blankets, like people have like lived their lives, like what dreams have like people had under these blankets. Like this really meant a lot to someone.
Can you tell us about the fit you're wearing today?
Oh yeah, should I stand up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. These are two different blankets, obviously. This one's my favorite. It's 2 peas in a pod, Bobette and Joey. You can see on the sleeves 2 peas in a pod. And then, yeah, I thought I killed these ladybugs when I first cut out the pattern. I was very sad about it, but I was able to take their heads and make pockets out of them. And their heads were out this way, but I was able to like switch them. Yeah, and now they have fingertips. Tips. Everything I make has pockets too. My dad actually taught me to sew which is kind of unexpected. I sew with my grandma's sewing machine, so shout out to them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very grateful to have stumbled across the vault because I feel like without it, like I would have just focused on schoolwork and not done any of the creative stuff because it's really freaking hard being a student. Like it takes up an obscene amount of time. I'm really grateful to have like a structured group of people, and also like on my own I wouldn't do that much, but like there's like so many people that are like excited, and that excites me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll make something. Like I like also like not even having to find my own models, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, hey, there's a bunch of people that are really excited, they want to be involved, and like let's just do it. Like I feel like the vault taught me is like you can literally just start doing things. Like I don't know, it's just great. Like obviously, yeah, it's like you really can, and if you get like a bunch of people that are also passionate, it will work out, which is super exciting. Especially like just really seeing that a good life lesson to remember that like if you just do it, it'll probably work out. You just have to actually do it. Oh yeah. Should we say goodbye? Like
I don't know, like
Yeah.
subscribe to my channel.
bye guys. Yeah, thanks for watching.
This has been my studio.
Yeah, okay, now I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been my studio. Thanks for joining me.